So I was kind of surprised and shocked that I stumbled upon this morning. I try to not dog other chains or coins or things like that. I mean, I'll point out the fact if there are other blockchains that have some technical flaws, because we're in a time where technical flaws are kind of a big deal. And there was this video that was put out by Jerry Banfield. I'm sure people have heard of him. He's a big Internet Computer ICP guy. And I have to say that, guys, I own ICP. It's in my portfolio. I think Internet Computer is a good blockchain. But this video that he put out said Cardano or ADA is going to zero. And these are the reasons why. And I think this video was kind of a big swing and a miss. And he talked about several different things in here, like the fact that, you know, the Cardano Foundation doesn't have pictures on their websites of the founders or the devs, or the fact that Cardano has less than 1,000 transactions per hour, which actually isn't correct. The fact that nobody's building with Cardano, that there aren't these users, and the fact that the Cardano chain itself has inferior tech to some of these other blockchains out there. So I want to clear some of this up. First and foremost, guys, Cardano has more than 1,000 transactions per hour. In fact, when we look at some of these blocks come through for Cardano, people don't have an understanding of UTXO models. For example, there's probably about what, 30 transactions in this block. But when you break it down, you got to remember with UTXO models, there's transactions inside of transactions. So this block, for example, had actually about 1,000 transactions. There's your 1,000 transactions per hour, and that was just a block in 11 seconds, all right, or 20 seconds, or whatever it is, right? Doesn't really matter. That one, that's kind of a crap block there, right? There's not a whole lot going on there. But people need to understand that this is not the normal makeup of the run-of-the-mill blockchain, all right? Cardano is built in a very different way from some of the other technical standpoints. You know, when you look at the consumption of energy or the computational power, things like that, it doesn't operate the same way. Yes, there are faster chains out there. Yes, there are chains with higher TPS, right? Like this block. This block is filled with, you know, like 1,300 transactions. But the problem is that a lot of times when you have these chains that either have a higher TPS or higher computational power, things like that, you sacrifice one of these big things, either centralization or security, you know, some of the big pillars when it comes to crypto. And we're at a time now where those are actually very, very important things. Now, I will say this, you know, he said that there's not really much building with Cardano, and that's just a flat out lie, because Cardano has actually been the leading blockchain, if not one of the leading blockchains, and I said that backwards, throughout all my time actually covering Cardano. So for the last 2 years, it's been one of the most dominant chains in terms of development. And I think a big part of that has been the big steps forward that have been made from last market cycle to this one. Now, here's the thing. He mentioned the users, all right? Right, there's not as many daily active users as other chains. We get it. We talk about it all the time and why this is. People need to remember that Cardano didn't even become a fully functioning blockchain until the height of the last market cycle. That's when we had the official launch of smart contracts, right? It's kind of hard to really build stuff when you don't have smart contracts. And now that we do, it dominates the crypto space in that regard, all right? Now, here's the thing. We've gone through these times where DeFi adoption, DeFi utilization is not incredibly high. You're not seeing a lot of new users come in. And frankly, a lot of these other blockchains are entrenched with users. You know, Ethereum, BNB, Solana has been taking off in that regard because it's cheap, it's fast. People are having fun playing with meme coins, right? I actually just started doing that yesterday. Who knows how it's going to go, right? But the thing is as we get later into this year, you start to see some of those times where DeFi adoption does in fact pick up. People start looking for blockchains that frankly don't have problems. And some of those technical problems, like I've talked about with other chains, like downtime and exploits and things like that, they start to really rear their head and people flock to chains that don't have those problems. Now, I also want to say that obviously Cardano isn't a bad blockchain. It doesn't have some of these fundamental issues, and it's not bad when it comes to computational power or some of these like throughput, things like that. Because if it did have those problems, it wouldn't be getting adopted by big enterprises. It wouldn't be getting adopted by countries, Argentina, right? Huawei. Many of these big things are actually taking place to utilize the Cardano blockchain would not be happening if it was a bad product. Really think about that. A product that frankly doesn't do enough marketing that we've talked about, they wouldn't be signing some of these big partnerships. You wouldn't see this big utilization. They'd go to the chain that has the most money, All right. So I think there's a little bit of a disconnect in that regard. And another thing he mentioned as well was that the Cardano Foundation doesn't have, pictures of the founding members or the devs on the website. And he talked to a dev, and this dev continues to just dump every time he gets paid. And that's not a not normal thing. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. That's kind of a normal thing. They got to pay their bills, right? People, devs, they dump their bags all the time. All right. We see it from miners. We see it from devs. It's not an uncommon thing. All right. And what you need to remember is that the Cardano Foundation is, I don't want to say about to be irrelevant, but we're moving into this time of true decentralization because of this most complex governance model to be in crypto that is in fact being implemented. All right. Oh, I forgot to mention that Cardano has been approached about voting too. I don't see a lot of other chains getting that kind of approach. So the point is people will try to say what they can to dog Cardano. They will say the early market performance of ADA hasn't been great. Yeah, there have been coins that have performed better. ICP's performed better early on in this market cycle. But people need to remember that the early market cycle performance doesn't dictate how you're going to perform later. If that was the case last market cycle, ADA frankly wouldn't have done shit. All right, I did like what, 300%, 500%, 600% by the end of the first year, but then it just exploded later on in the year and into the last year of the cycle. All right. ADA historically has been a better late market performer than an early market performer. And I tend to kind of side with history in that regard because we've seen all these developments take place, all things that typically would impact ADA later in this market cycle. Hopefully that makes sense. I didn't want this video to get this long, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. But I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Appreciate you as always. Have a great day. Show your love below. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.